So, hello everyone, and today is my first tutorial ever on this channel. So, this is a special one. So, basically, what I'm going to be doing today is this. It's a really simple one. I'm using MOPs and Houdini and Redshift to actually create this. If you don't know what MOPs is a plugin for Houdini. It just brings the Cinema 4D MoGraph thingy to Houdini, and it makes Houdini very artistic friendly. That's why I love it. And I'm going to be using MOPs to do this. MOPs is a free plugin. I'll try and put the link down below on this video to so if you want to actually download it. So let's get started. So this video was made, I got this inspiration from someone on Instagram. So this is what the person actually created, and I was like, oh wow, I think I can actually do this, and I should make my first tutorial on this. And enough talking, let's get started. So it's a really simple setup. I just created like let me see if I can just make this less ugly. So I just created like a grid. Let's just start from the beginning. I created a grid and just added like let's make this so that it's clear. Okay, I just created a grid and make sure it's 20 by 20, it's large, and the rows are 5 by 5. Doesn't matter because it's just for the base. And I added an auto labs, auto UV, and the transform. I just the transform is just to bring it down a little bit because I want the cubes to be sitting on top of the object, and I added a material, and that's pretty much it for this. And the next thing I did was I brought in this model I got from Grayscale Gorilla, and I cleaned it up with this clean node. I usually do this for all my FBX so that they are very clean to in case anything comes with it. And added a subdivision and match size to make it smaller. So I made sure the match size was best fit. So it just makes it smaller and make sure that it's in the same wall scale with Houdini, which is meters, I think. So and the transform is where I animated it. So if you can see my timeline here, I just brought it down basically. So I took it up and I brought it down. That's nothing special. But I wanted it to bounce, I wanted it to have this bounce effect. So I added an ID attribute. The reason I'm adding an ID attribute is because of mob spring fall off. So mob spring needs an ID attribute to actually work. Not necessarily, but just so you don't get any bugs or any errors. So I did that, and so when I did that, it gave me this bouncy effect, as you can see. So what I did in my simulation was in my spring constant, I made it 0.6, and damping coefficient is 0.7. So basically, the damping is just to reduce how much bounciness it gets. So if you reduce this, it will reduce it a bit. And this is how springy it is. So the spring constant is how springy it is, and this is how to reduce the springy effect, if that makes sense. If I hope I'm correct. So anyways, that's what I did, and added that node. This is a mops node. As you can see, it's called mop spring modifier. I added the normals. So let me just quickly like make this smooth. um, yeah, I made it smooth, and let me just take out the UV. Okay, it's not good. It's not good without the UV because of redshift. So my redshift is affecting my scene. So and material, added the material node, and that's pretty much it for that. And the next thing I did, this is where the action really is. So I created a cube right here. Let me take this and this out. This are lights. So I created this cube right here. It's a simple cube. I made the size very small, like 0.12 meters, and I had a poly bevel, so I beveled each side of the cube. Yeah, selected each side, and the next thing I did was this. This is strange. So basically, let me even show you how you bevel, since it's not really a step-by-step tutorial, because I don't want this to be long. So I selected each edge and I just press enter. It puts them into a group, and I distant that group, so you can see we can make it this, and we can add more subdivision. So, and whatever you want to do, you can make your cube wherever you want it to be. So I added a an auto UV. You don't really need this because I didn't add any textures or anything, so it doesn't matter. It was just all colors. And yeah, you don't really need match size because I just usually just do this in case I want to make it fit to the scale, but I don't need that because everything was in the center and I didn't need to do this. But you can actually just turn this off, it doesn't matter. And added the normals, just always add in normals just in case there's not normals in the there are no normals in the on the object. So this is the MOPs instance, and this, you can see it's a lot. I have like 50,000 if I'm not mistaken. It's showing 2,500 primitives, but I'm sure it's more than this. But whatever, what I did was let me go to the distribution and I made that 50 by 50. So see, if we should bring this down, you can see if you take it back to, you can see it's smaller. So you see we have like 10 by 10 grid here, but I made it 50 by 50 because I needed a lot, because as you can see here, it's a lot of cubes. I needed a lot, and that was the best way. I think there are other ways you can use this, but I really wanted to do MOPs instance MOPs tutorial kind of, because I really love MOPs. It's really cool tool. And yes, after you've created your scene, you've created this, you can actually go to MOP shape fall off, and this is where the baby really happens. This is where the work really happens. So what I did was I made sure it's on the torus. You can see it's a torus, you can see. So let me show preview fall off. Yeah, so you can see wherever the torus is, you see this color bit and this other part is blue. So what this basically means is that wherever you don't see color, the effect doesn't happen. So but you might be thinking, okay, you just did this, and then what are we seeing? We are not seeing anything apart from colors. Be patient. So anyways, I actually animated the size of the torus. So what I did was I made sure it was a sphere before I turned it into a torus, because you understand, if you've ever played with a torus before, you understand that you can actually change two sides, the scale of the torus inward and the scale of the torus outward. So the inward one was the one I scaled first. I think the outward one. Yeah, I think it's the outward. So I made sure it's a sphere. So when it comes into the scene, it's a sphere, because it will make sense if it just started as a torus, because there's a gap in the middle. So I wanted it to look as if it's coming out from the middle, the outward. So that's why I did. So I animated. If you look over here, you can see that the first animation is the outward one before the inward one comes in, or whatever you want to call it. Then I scale them up and they spread out. So now I have my fall off, shape, and I have all that. I can now go into my MOPs transform modifier. And on my MOPs transform modifier, what I just did was I made sure I did a uniform scale. So I make sure wherever, so you make sure you check do fall off, and I make sure I said wherever this fall off is, all the cubes should be scaled uniformly. So you can see the highest, where you see the biggest scale is where you see the highest colors, right, which is white. So the lower part is blue, which gives us this fall off effect. So you can see I made it. If we should scale this down, you can see what's happening. If I bring the uniform scale down, it's smaller, and if I bring it up, it's bigger. So 2.4 was the number I used. And so if we should play this animation, we can see this cool effect going on here. So the next thing you can do is go to MOPs transform modifier again. You create another one, because we're working procedurally here. And and I went to scale it on the Y direction. So if we should look at this, and I make sure I check MOPs fall off attribute is MOPs underscore fall off. Make sure this is checked, and I scaled it on the Y axis to 2 meters up. So as you can see, wherever you can see, it goes up 2 meters. But if you can see this, it goes both ways. So how do we fix this? Is that you MOPS has another node called MOPS pivot, which is this down here. So with MOPS pivot now, it, it pushes everything uh, on the y-axis below the scene scale, or the scene world, or the world scene, or whatever you want to call it. Like if this is the zero scene, I'm looking for the best word to explain this, but if it's this the scene, and you go to, if you go to the alignment side, you can see it's minus y. So if you put it minus y the scene, so if there's a plane here, let me see, it's a plane here minus y, that will be up here. So if that makes sense, I hope that makes sense. So basically just make sure you choose align to b box, and make sure you choose that, which is saying align to the box of the cube, like the shape of the cube or the object. Then align side and make sure it's minus y. Make sure you also uncheck pivot only, because this is important. If you don't do that, it's not going to work. So you make sure you do that. And yeah, I checked accurate bonds, which is slow but it's more accurate, like it said. Yeah, so you can uncheck that, it still works. So if you see, it still works. So I just do that just to make sure that my simulation or my effect is accurate. So pretty much it. Yeah, so I go into MOPS color modifier, and this is where you turn the MOPS fall off into an attribute called CD, so that I can use it in like Redshift. So I wanted a grayscale, a grayscale color. I wanted to turn all the MOPS fall off into a grayscale, so that as the object is moving, I can actually color the shape, the effect with the MOPS fall off. So I'm like killing two birds with one stone, kind of. So basically I just changed this to grayscale, and I just adjusted this stuff here to make sure I the fall off, I can control the fall off with the scale. Yeah, you can use color, and you don't have to go through the method I went through, where you can just add the CD into Redshift and it works. So and I added the material, and that's it. And in each material you can see Redshift grid, and you can go here, you can see Redshift cube, and you can come here, you see Redshift coin. So that's just from the material net here. So I created like a material network here, and I brought that in. I went inside and I created an RS material builder right here, and I just renamed them cube, grid, and that's pretty much what I did. So I'm going to go into the grid, and the grid is just a basic metal material, and I make sure the roughness is at 0.3, and that's pretty much it. And I went to okay, I just went through the grid now, and I went to the coin, and the coin was just a gold. I just changed the color to a gold color, and I make sure it's metallic, and the roughness is 0.3, little blurry reflections, and that's pretty much it. And the cube is where the work, I really did some work here. So it's not complicated, it's really simple. So pretty much what I did was this is a standard material, which is, let me just go to my render so that you can see what I'm actually talking about. So okay, and let's make sure we're doing this. Yeah. And in our cube, this is just a metal material. Yeah, I just applied the metal material on the cube, and that's basically it. And I made another material, standard material, and I made it blue. But this blue is just one, the blue color, and no metalness, and I made the roughness 0.3, and pretty much it. So what I then did was, like, I brought the material blender, so to mix both materials together. But to do that, I need a way to mask the metal from the other one. So I wanted to use the MOPS fall off, where I converted MOPS fall off to CD. So I wanted to take that CD because I can't really use MOPs for all of in Redshift. I think you can, but I'm not sure. Yeah. So, but I converted that to CD, and I use this point attribute, which is an attribute, a node from Redshift. So it's like rs point attribute. So this way you can bring like attribute from your node tree down to Redshift. Stuff like color and some other attributes you can actually bring it here. So I'm using CD. Make sure the first one is uppercase and the second one is lowercase. So I'm using CD, and that's going to take that CD attribute from this one. I'm trying to explain this because this can be tricky. This CD attribute, it's bringing that into Redshift material node area. Yeah, so I'm taking that and I'm putting that against a ramp. Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, let me turn this off and put that against the ramp so that I can actually have more control with this. So with this ramp, I can, I can control how much I'll spread this fall off is. Or you can just, I think you can actually just plug it directly, but since it's black and white, and I plug that into the ramp, and so it's now, so what that's basically doing is that under the layer node is actually um I'm using that grayscale from MOPS fall off as a mask for these two materials. So the base is the metalness, and this is the second one. So the white part, which is this, if you look at your scene here, if you see the white part is where this blue will show, and the black part is where will stay metal for this. So that's pretty much it. When it comes to the rendering and the lighting, I just used a simple HDRI to just light up the scene to give it like a feel light. And I got it from HDR even. It's nothing complex. You can play with a couple of HDRIs. And for my first light, this was a really quick lighting setup, was nothing crazy. So I actually just brought one light here, scaled it up, and I brought another one here to scale it down, just to kill off the shadowy areas where the HDRI couldn't meet, and to give it more contrast, and to just say, okay, this light should be brighter than this light. So you can see this in this part, you can see it's more intense, and yet it's just not that intense. So pretty much it's a very simple setup, nothing complicated. And I animated the camera, so you can see just move forward and backwards. So just to make sure it's not boring. So just to make sure it looks like this. So guys, that's pretty much how to do this, and I hope you enjoyed, you learned something. If you really want me to go deep down and give you like a step-by-step tutorial on how I did this, or you want the IP file, let me know down in the comments, and I'll provide one. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one.